Taylor, and I am a student at Appalachian State University, which is located in North Carolina, and I am an exercise science major. And today I will be interviewing Steven.
Hi, I'm Steven. I am in physical therapy school right now. I graduated from UC San Diego, and I'm in school right now in Los Angeles, California.
All right, so I'm just going to ask you a couple questions. How did you pick your major and your school that you went to that you did your undergraduate degree in?
So I picked human biology because I wanted to study, just about the body, and I think if they had a physical exercise science major, I would have chosen that, but human biology was probably the closest thing. So I went with that, and UC San Diego, I chose that. It was probably the best school I got into. I didn't get into like UCLA or Berkeley or anything like that. And San Diego is a beautiful city. I would like park my car next to the cliffs on the beach and then go to school. So
Yeah.
yeah, it was a great place, great city.
Um, obviously you're in physical therapy school now, but how did you choose physical therapy school? Was it hard to get into that process or to get into the school? And then what resources did you use that you feel like helped you?
Yeah, it was definitely a process. It's not something you can decide to do in 1 year and then because you have so many prerequisites that maybe your major didn't cover, that you didn't take an undergraduate, and you do have to study, for the GRE, get volunteering hours, and what else? Maybe write your essay. The whole application process is like a few months too. So let's see, I think I decided on physical therapy maybe in my third year of college, and that's when I started looking into internships. So there was one at a hospital that was kind of connected to our school. So that was my first experience, and then just to see if physical therapy was something I wanted to do. And yeah, I really liked working with patients and working with the other therapists. So then I just worked on getting different types of experience, like maybe I worked at like the Veteran Affairs Hospital, and then more of a private clinic instead of a hospital, and just getting different types of experiences. And then the last one I did was working as an aide, where you would actually work more with the patients. You would help them with their exercises, and I like that because you get a little bit more responsibility and get a little more feel for like what it's going to be like to be a physical therapist. So and then how I chose this school, well, I applied to like every school in California because I'm from here and I want to stay here. So I chose Mount St. Mary's because it's in Los Angeles and I could still live at home and save a lot of money on rent, and my mom helps me like pack my lunches, so it saves a lot of time too. So commute's not terrible, but yeah, I'm glad I'm here.
Nice. Did you work for a while before you started physical therapy school, like coming out of your undergrad?
Yeah, I did. Working as an aide, I think a lot of students in physical therapy school like worked as an aide just because it's a good way to get a lot of hours in, and also you could get paid for it instead of just volunteering, because I think as like a volunteer, you couldn't really work with the patients that much. Like you were always kind of overseen by the physical therapist. And but as an aide, you could work with the exercises, work with the patients doing their exercises, doing their stretches. So
for sure.
yeah, that was a great experience. And so how did you pick exercise science as your major? Why did you?
So I throughout high school, I knew that I wanted to go into some kind of health like profession. I didn't know if I wanted that to be like occupational therapy or maybe even a physician or a surgeon. And I think I remember like one specific conversation that I had with a lady who is over one of the PT schools that we have in North Carolina. And she was just talking about maybe going there for undergrad, which I ended up not going there for undergrad, but they have a physical therapy school, and she was telling me all about it and telling me how their program kind of worked and how it was set up. And I think talking to her really kind of opened my eyes to that. And at that point in my life, I was super into like the gym,
Yeah.
and just sort of like working out and knowing how your body like moves when you work out and how it reacts to that. And basically, so in exercise science, that's like all that you learn about. You learn about like the physiological responses that your body has to the different like stressors we can put on it. So that was definitely how I sort of got into that. I knew I either want to do like exercise science or kinesiology. So yeah.
Yeah, it sounds like a lot of other students, like my classmates, they all got into physical therapy because they were playing a sport and like going to the gym, and they just liked
Hmm.
learning about how the body works, or probably got injured too, and maybe got
Yeah.
exposed to physical therapy school that way.
Yeah.
So I think you said you're in your senior year of undergrad right now.
Hmm.
So what are your next steps going into physical therapy school?
So I will graduate in May, and I am currently working on finishing up my EMT certification. So
Cool.
I'm almost done. I have like one more week, and then I will be done with that. So I plan on applying to physical therapy school and pending that I get in, sort of working as an EMT basic um, in the area that I'm from until I start, or maybe even getting a job with my degree. Obviously, my degree is kind of like a stepping stone to get to physical therapy school. So I'm not like too concerned about actually finding a job with my undergrad. But yeah, so just like traveling a little bit and then working and then hopefully going to physical therapy school.
Nice. That sounds like a good experience to have.
Yeah.
Really like separate
um,
yourself.
yeah, yeah. That's why I think, getting your EMT certification is a lot of work. And
Yeah.
it definitely takes a lot of time, but I was just like, this is really cool. It's something that it's like sort of it's in a health field sort of. It's out of like hospital. And it's just different. So I was like, oh, I might as well. I had a semester where I had a little bit fewer credits than I normally do. So I was like, I might as well give it a try.
Yeah, that sounds like a pretty good way to separate yourself from the other
Yeah.
applicants. Yeah.
Um, so you sort of like talked about a little bit like some of the observations slash like internships that you did.
Yeah.
Um, but did any of those things help you decide that physical therapy is what you wanted to do? And did you network and stay in touch with the people that you like observed or interned with?
Yeah, like that first internship I talked about in the hospital, um, even though that was just like there's a beginning and an end to that internship,
Hmm.
I still like came in every week or so just to keep working with the patients and with the therapist, because I wanted to ask two of those therapists for a letter of recommendation, and I wasn't
Yeah.
applying like for another year, so I wanted to like, stay in touch with them and still, show my face. And
Yeah.
they definitely helped me figure out like what schools to apply to, and also like let me know like what being a physical therapist is like. You're going to be working with patients all day, and like
Yeah.
it is like tiring if you're on your feet, and you do have like documentation, which is also kind of a pain. So
Hmm.
sometimes you might have to be working during lunch, maybe working in like after you see all your patients, and just let me know like, the pros and cons and what they like and what they don't like of their job.
Hmm.
But also it's very rewarding like to see a patient that's been in pain for like a few years, and then work with them for a few months, and then they're a lot better. And
Yeah.
so um, yeah, so that was a really great internship at that hospital.
Yeah.
And I think that's like really, that was my first experience, and that really got me going into looking into other internships, and then applying to school, and eventually becoming a physical therapist.
Yeah.
I
Um, Sorry.
Yeah, go ahead.
No,
But
keep
I
going.
want to say that I think I was lucky that this hospital was kind of associated with our school, so it was easy
Hmm.
for me to get this internship.
Hmm.
There was like a program in our school where you could just kind of search for internships online.
Yeah.
So I'm sure like other schools, like your school, probably has something like that too, where there's like a database of internships, and
Yeah.
pick one that's kind of related to your career.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. It's really, if you just take the time to look into it, especially if you consider like if you go to a school that's not in the area that you're necessarily from, either the place that you're from has internships you can do, or like, I go to school in the mountains, so we're a little bit more secluded up here. So we don't have like a huge hospital system or anything like that. So our hospital isn't great for allowing like internships, but definitely there's all different kinds of things you can do between where you're from and where you go to school or whatever. It's very easy to
Yeah.
find them.
What kind of experience, like you said you had about what, 200 hours of physical therapy experience?
Yeah.
What kind of setting and like how did you get that
Um,
experience?
so the first so the first person that I met when I came to Appalachian, I joined the exercise science club because that was my major. And they were kind of introducing themselves and they were all saying, oh, like I want to go to physical therapy school and I have this many hours and I've done all these internships and all these things. And so I was kind of like, oh, wow, like I need to really start doing all these things. And one of the guys happened to be from Charlotte, which is where I'm from. And so he was like, yeah, I know this great place that I can get you in touch with and you can go and observe there. And it was, we have a huge like chain in the Carolinas. It's called Ortho Carolina. I don't know how far out it goes. But it's like a big company where I'm from.
Okay.
And so it was an Ortho Carolina that partnered with athletes. So I would say about 90% of the population were athletes. And so I kind of just like got a therapist contact information from him. And I went home and I observed there over Christmas break. And I got 50 hours from that. So just in a month, I was able to do that. And then I have observed at another place that's called Carolina Neurosurgery and Spine. And so that one was really cool because it was mostly back and neck patients that had either had like, not many of them were post-op, but some of them were, and then some of them were just kind of like chronic pain type
Mhm.
individuals that needed help. And then right now I am observing a physical therapist in a hospital that we have in Boone, North Carolina, which is where I'm located now. And like I said, our hospital system is very limited here. So like we're not a trauma center. We don't really, most people, if they are here and they get hurt, they are sent somewhere else. But I see a lot of like hip replacements, knee replacements, shoulder replacements, stuff that it's like the first 2 days after you have surgery, they're already up and they have you moving and stuff.
Cool.
So it's just kind of like once you start observing, it's a lot easier to find other ones, I think. I think you just
Mhm.
get more comfortable. For me, I just like made a list of things that I was mildly interested in and I just called them. And I was like, hey, what's this process to come observe with you? Um, and some of them will say no, we can't have you, and some of them will say yes.
Yeah. But it sounds
Yeah.
like what that exercise science club was pretty important for you getting that first internship, huh? Yeah, so it's
Yeah.
important to be networking and talking to people.
Oh yeah, for sure. Talking to people, I would say, is like, it's great if you're brilliant, but if you don't talk to people and you don't know how to network, it can definitely limit the experiences that you're able to have.
Yeah.
So I was super, super thankful for that. And that was definitely a big role in getting me started and realizing, because, in high school, they don't tell you like the formula for life.
Yeah.
So it's not that easy.
Yeah, and yeah, when you're in physical therapy, you're like talking. There's a lot of time to make small talk with patients too, and you learn a lot. Just yeah, well, a lot of patients are like kind of old and they live through a lot, so it's interesting to hear what they have to say.
Yeah. Um, so you sort of touched on how you got into one of your main internships, which was through the hospital that was through your university that you
Hmm.
went to. Um, what did you feel like you got out of the internship in terms of like how it would help you in the future? And like, was it anything sort of what you expected?
Um, let's see. Yeah, I talked about like how I wanted this. Like this internship was kind of like just me getting exposed to physical therapy,
Mm-hmm.
and I didn't know like what to expect from it. Um, but I was still able to like work with patients a lot, just with the therapist always there.
Yeah.
Um, so I was able to like build relationships with the therapist and get those letters of
Mm-hmm.
rec and get insight into what the profession is like. But it was limited because you're a volunteer and you can't, the therapist is always kind of just overseeing things. So you're mostly there like wiping the tables, putting the heat packs on, putting the ice
Yeah.
on, like limited. So
Yeah.
I knew that talking with other people, I knew that you can get more experience if you worked, like had a job instead of just being a volunteer. And plus you get paid like, I don't know, $10 an hour instead. So, all
Yeah.
right, I'll take that. And
Yeah.
then you could start being more like independent with the patient, and it's
Mhm.
just you and the patient doing exercises or doing stretches, and that's when you feel like you can really start building a relationship with the patient because the therapist isn't there, so now it's just you two. And
Yeah.
so that, I mean, that internship was great because it helped, move you to the next, stepping
Yeah.
stone. And it's hard to get a job as an aide if you don't have experience already, because nobody wants to hire somebody that's just like, um, that doesn't know what physical therapy
Yeah.
is like yet. So um, yeah, it is a process. I mean,
Mhm.
yeah, getting into school is a long process, but I mean, I know some students that didn't work as an aide, like they just got their hours just volunteering. But I
Mhm.
think working as an aide, that definitely like prepared me more for this career. And yeah,
Yeah.
I'm glad I did every one of those internships.
Yeah. Was there anything that surprised you about any of your internships?
Um, let's see. I think maybe working with the VA, that was a lot different setting
Mhm.
because everybody was like a veteran, and
Yeah.
they had, it was different than just like an outpatient orthopedic kind of setting.
Mhm.
So some people came in with like amputations, so that was cool working with the therapists. They're like really knowledgeable and they know how to work with like knee amputations, and there's also like a lot of psychological disorders.
Yeah.
So those therapists are really, really like skilled and experienced. And
Yeah.
also in that same hospital, I got inpatient experience where these patients, they have to like stay in the hospital, so usually their health is like not as good. So
Mhm.
physical therapy in that kind of setting is a lot different. It's just getting them moving, getting them sitting up. So you have to work with them like transferring.
Mhm.
Yeah, they're just a lot less independent. So working in the VA, it was a really insightful experience. Just seeing how how broad like physical therapy can be. It's not just people that come in, once or twice a week because of
Yeah.
back pain, but maybe like things more serious too.
Yeah, for sure. What's some advice that you would give a young student considering physical therapy as a career, or how would you give them advice to land their first internship or job?
Yeah, so I guess my advice would be to get get an internship first, and then, well, to get that internship, yeah, you have to join clubs, like
Mhm.
socialize, network with people, because maybe they're already working there. That's how I got mine. It wasn't actually through the school, even though that's like the proper way to do it.
Mhm.
I had a friend that already interning there, so
Mhm.
he just like set up an interview for me working with a therapist, and then that's how I got it. And so yeah, I say get a get different types of experience, in a hospital, outpatient, inpatient, and like you did neuro and back, and so that's really different too. Like
Yeah.
I didn't get that experience. I wish I did. I did like a day of pediatrics,
Yeah.
so I would say talk to like get a bunch of experience in internships,
Mhm.
and then you could talk to different therapists, and then see if like this is like the career you want to money into this school. So
Yeah.
you want to make sure it's right for you. So if it takes a few more internships to like make you feel confident that this is the career for you, then I think it's worth it because you're going to be working in this career for like I don't know, a few decades. So
Yeah.
yeah, it is daunting, but it is a process too.
Yeah.
So yeah, I guess be patient too. Some advice I would give. Some people in my class, they're like 39, almost 40. They have family
Hmm.
and they're just making a career change.
Yep.
So I would say, if, yeah, be patient. It does take time to like get everything all in order to get accepted
Hmm.
in school. But yeah, there's no rush either.
Um, once you're done with school, what are your next steps and like how long will you be in school? Um, what do you want to do when you graduate? I assume you want to be a physical therapist, but just talk about that.
Yeah. Yeah, so I am in my second semester of physical therapy school in
Hmm.
my first year. So I have like about 3 more years to go. The program's about
Hmm.
3.5 years. And afterwards, I mean, I haven't done any clinical rotations yet where I'm actually
Hmm.
working in the hospital. And every school, they try to get you to do different types of experience with inpatient, outpatient,
Hmm.
pediatrics. So um, I don't want to decide that I want to do like outpatient orthopedics just because be open to like different types of experience. But
For
I feel like
sure.
that's probably the way I'm going to go because I think like 90% of PTs are in outpatient orthopedics.
Yeah.
And yeah, so that's my plan. I want to eventually like open up my own clinic, and that's just something that I've wanted to do, but that
Hmm.
probably won't be for another few years, like 5 or 10 years after I graduate, because you want to like learn to be a good physical therapist first before you
Yeah.
try to open up your own thing.
Dive into something totally different.
Yeah. And I'm not sure how I'm gonna get a job as a physical therapist. I
Hmm.
assume, those same things we talked about, networking is super
Yeah.
important because your professors are all physical therapists and they
Yeah.
know a bunch of people. And I'm sure it's important to, oh, I think it's important to like uh, stay in touch with the people, your clinical instructors when you're on clinical
Hmm.
rotations, because maybe you'll end up working there after you graduate too. That's just
So yeah,
advice that I was given. So
that was something that I was going to mention. There's a lot of the places I have observed, especially bigger therapy places that have a lot of different therapists. I've talked to, I can think of at least 3 therapists that I was like, oh, like, how long have you been a therapist? Or like 6 months. I just graduated PT school. I did one of my rotations here and I ended up getting a job here. So I think that's probably where a lot of people end up getting jobs
uh,
from. It's like if you find a rotation that you like enough
yeah,
to stick with.
yeah, and it's like an interview already because they already know how you work, and
Yeah.
you've been working there for, I don't know, sometimes 2, 3 months. So
Hmm.
yeah, that's good advice. I need to remember before I start my rotations too.
um, yeah, and then I would just say like another thing that I wanted to add, something that what are your job options after physical therapy school? And I think that most people, once they go to PT school, they know that they want to be a PT.
Mm.
I think that some people after PT school, maybe they just want to be like teachers um, for physical therapy school. But I would say that most students that go, the end goal is to actually work in a, inpatient, outpatient, some kind of clinic.
Yeah. Yeah, I think most of my professors, they didn't just start teaching like right after
Yeah.
school. I mean, they had to work and then they got their PhD and then
Hmm.
got experience working as a therapist. And I'm sure that's like what makes them good for professors, is because
Yeah.
they've been out there and they know what it's like working with patients, even though
Hmm.
and a lot of um, and they just kind of just to like keep their skills up, and then even though they still teach like full time.
Yeah.
Um, and But also another option, I guess, after you graduate is to do a residency. And
Hmm.
from one of my friends that's doing one right now, he says that's a really good way to get mentorship, um, and just become a better physical therapist.
Yeah.
And it's 1 year, so not
Yeah.
terrible. And you still get paid too, so
Hmm.
that's an option I might be considering too.
Yeah. Is there anything else that you would like to add?
Um, well, I really like physical therapy school because I'm like up and moving around.
Hmm.
Like our desks are treatment tables, and
Hmm.
so like sometimes you're just in lecture, you're like taking notes, typing and whatever, and then it's like, all right, hop on the table, like we're gonna do this test, and it's like a
Yeah.
really interactive way to learn. And I'm sure like you as well, like a lot of our classmates are like um, they're like kinesthetic learners. They like moving around and like using their
Hmm.
body and stuff,
Yeah.
and so it's not like you're just sitting in class like taking notes all day. So and yeah, it's a lot of fun. Get really close with your classmates. I'm glad my
Yeah.
school is only like 30 people, so
Yeah.
um, anything else? Yeah, it's just crazy that I'm gonna like this is all school to like preparing to be a physical therapist. I forget that
Yeah.
like I'm gonna graduate and like treat people
Yeah.
eventually. And I feel like
Yeah.
I'm just we've been in like school all our lives. I feel like it's
Hmm.
this is just my life, but now I'm gonna graduate, and you as well. You're gonna graduate and be a
Yeah.
PT too. So yeah, it's
Yeah.
crazy.
Yeah. Well, congratulations on getting into physical therapy school because a lot of people are working just to get to that point. So,
Uh,
and good
uh,
luck with all your future endeavors in that.
hey, thank you. You too.